All right, what's going on, everybody? This is James. I wanted to do another Borderless video in the vacation rental series that I've been doing. I like vacation rentals as a investment because there's a lot of technology that makes it easier than ever, and it's a way that you can keep control over your property. In some ways, more than a long-term rental, and also you get a higher return on your money. So what I wanted to go over today that I get asked a lot about is the technology that I use to keep these going and pretty much automatically. I talk a lot about how technology has made short-term rentals easier than before. And so today I wanted to talk about some of the services that I use. Number one, what you're going to need is called a PMS, Personnel Management System, and or channel manager. Sometimes they work together, sometimes they're separate. PMS is what's going to help you send out jobs to cleaners, to maintenance people, to run your books and do all this type of stuff. Okay, so that's a personal manager, and then you have what's called a channel manager. And a channel manager is going to sync all of your calendars on all of the different channels, meaning people can book through you directly. People can use Airbnb, people can use Booking.com, VRBO, on and on. There's tons and tons of channels out there. And a channel manager is going to help you do that. And I'll be giving the names of what I'm currently using, but this does change. But currently I'm using Orbi Rental. And I like Orbi Rental because it has a widget that I'm able to put on my website, which looks nice, and people are able to book right through there, and it hooks up through everything. It has lots of integrations into other services that I use, which I'll be going over, and it's very user-friendly. And it's also less expensive than the other. There are a lot of other channel managers that charge a percentage, and Orbi Rental charges a flat fee. And so another reason that I need to use a channel manager is because I use what's called a dynamic pricing tool. So what a dynamic pricing tool does is it adjusts your prices, whether it's on the weekend, per season, for whether it's a upcoming date or whether it's far out, whether it's an orphan day, meaning there's a day in the middle of two reservations that you want to get covered. There's a lot of different reasons that you're going to need to adjust your prices a lot. And hotels actually have full-time people that do this. That's their job, is to sit there and they adjust the prices every day. And so instead of doing that, you can use what's called a dynamic pricing tool. Some people say, oh, well, I just use the smart pricing on Airbnb. That's kind of the same thing, but I don't think anybody in the industry is going to actually use that because it sets your prices way too low. It's not a very good dynamic pricing tool, and so people are not going to recommend that. So the dynamic pricing tool that I use is called Price Labs. A lot of them do very similar type of things. I use Price Labs because it hooks up with the channel manager that I mentioned, Orbi Rental. And why this is important is because if every day it adjusts your prices, okay, it actually goes out to the other websites and sees what demand looks like for the different days in your area, for the different season in your area, and it will adjust according to that, your occupancy rate for similar places and all this type of thing. So it can go out and do all of that. So it's really important that you get this done. And also there's different commissions on the different platforms, the booking platforms. So it has to, when it's adjusting every day, it also needs to adjust differently on each platform. So that's why it's very important that you have a dynamic pricing tool that plugs into your channel manager, whichever one that you do choose. I choose Price Labs, because it hooks into Orbi Rental. Beyond Pricing does as well. It's another dynamic pricing tool, but I don't believe that it works outside of the United States, which is why I chose not to go with that one. And I will be putting links to affiliate links in the description that you can use, which will save you money on all these tools that I'm talking about. Okay, and so then now we have the dynamic pricing and the channel manager. And another thing that I use is a e-guide. So when people, a lot of people want to have a guide when they come somewhere. It helps them. It's a guide to the house. It helps with the check-in process. And it's also great to have an interactive map that they can have on their phone or print it out that has all your recommendations and all that type of thing. And you can also put in, people can pay you to put in ads for other types of services in your area. You can have agreements with the real estate agents that you have an ad for them, and then anybody that comes off that referral, if they buy something, you get a referral fee. You can work different things like that into your e-guides or your guides. So what I do is I use e-guide service called Hostfully, and actually it's the same thing as Orbi Rental. Orbi Rental and Hostfully merged, and so they are the same company. And so that's why I use Hostfully and Orbi Rentals, because it just works together well. And then what I also do is I print it out, because some people are not as a tech savvy and don't want to have the thing on their phone and all that, and so you have it printed out for if mom or grandma or something comes along and she doesn't have want to use it on the phone, then you also have a printed out copy there. And so that is what I do, and I put it in English and Spanish. And so I guess I could also mention that when I take direct bookings, I have a website that I've built, and I built that with WordPress. And that's why I liked Orbi Rental, is because it has a WordPress plugin. I know how to use WordPress. I know how to build sites with WordPress. And so I can do my blogging. I can hook up my social media stuff on my website using WordPress, and then just taking that widget, which runs off of Stripe, which is another service, Stripe, which I can use to charge people's credit cards directly. So so you have those two, and I'm sorry, all those that I mentioned. And other than that, you want to have a checklist that you can send out to maintenance people and also your cleaners, to make sure that they take inventory, to make sure that they check everything. Because the thing is a lot of times, they're in a rush. Maybe they don't mean to do a bad job, but they'll forget something. They'll forget to check the gas. They'll forget to, check all the bulbs, this type of thing. And so you got to make sure and do this checklist, and then you can use the same checklist to do an inspection later, and also to have an inventory to make sure that everything that was there when the last guest came is still there. So I've just started using a service called Breezeway. And so it looks pretty good, and it is hooks right up into Orbi Rental as well. Okay, so that's another service that I use currently, and that's really good too, because if the housekeeper, for instance, notices something, maintenance or something like that needs to be done, they can send a job to the maintenance person, and then they can have a list of things that they need to get done. Okay, and so then you don't, just trying to automate all this type of stuff, not only with the guests to make sure that their stay as nice as possible, but also with the your own staff, right? And so another one that you can use along with most channel managers for bookkeeping is QuickBooks. A lot of people hire someone to keep up with a lot of it, but you can also do QuickBooks and some other things that plug right into the channel manager. So then all of that stuff goes right to so you have all that down and organized. And another thing about Orbi Rental is that when I have managing places for other owners, it will automatically make owners' statements that I can then send to them, and they can see a breakdown, and I'll see how much that I actually owe them. Another technology that is new that I like is artificial intelligence, or chatbots, I guess you'd call them. I don't know if it's technically artificial intelligence, but you can have chatbots that it will answer people's questions, that you can program in certain questions and things that people have during their stay. And so that's pretty cool, and I think a lot of people enjoy that. It looks like they're chatting with your Facebook page, and then that also encourages people to interact with your Facebook page. Give it a like. You can ask them for a review on your Facebook page, which is great. Very customer facing. And the one that I think is pretty good is called Chatbot for Vacation Rentals. And if you search on Facebook, Chatbot for Vacation Rentals, Airbnb, Booking.com, etc., It's at ChatbotVR. That is a chatbot that you can use, and you do pay per month for that. But I think that is a pretty interesting and a cool feature. So I think last but not least, you have the marketing aspect. To pull people into your own website, you want to use some type of marketing. I'm a fan of email marketing. I think email marketing is great. A lot of people buy things off email. They still use email. There are a lot of different markets, and you know that unlike a lot of these social media networks, that it's still going to be around in 5 years or 10 years or something. You're still going to have that customer base if you just have a lot of people's email addresses that are interested in hearing from you and hearing about discounts, hearing about the area that you're in, etc. So I use MailChimp. MailChimp is free to get started. And what I do is I hook that into the website along with WordPress. I also use what's called SumoMe, and that has pop-ups, and it allows people to, if they give their email address, it will give them the free one version of a free ebook. And also when people get into the actual ebook, when they reserve a place, and they have to accept my rules, and they accept my rules by putting in their email address that then gets sent to the email subscription list. If people don't want to be on that list, they can then unsubscribe whenever they want to. But if you have somebody, maybe you're not good at email marketing, you can get somebody that is, or take some courses on it. But I think it's good to keep people in the loop, try to get them to like you on Facebook, Instagram, get their email address. And those are just some of the basic marketing stuff. And then you could do paid advertisement through Google, Facebook to go to your WordPress site where they can then book. And they pay with Stripe, and that is going to put more money in your pocket, and it's also going to keep your customer base closer to you, and you're going to have more control over your business. So that is some of the things that I use, some of the technology things, and I'm really interested to hear what you use. If there's something that you use that I did not mention, please list that in the comments. And I hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions about vacation rentals, if you're trying to get started and have any questions, I do counseling and strategy calls for people. And you could just go to borderlessblog.com, and in the top right corner there, it does have a tab for strategy call, and you can sign up, and I can try to help you the best I can. All right. Well, thank you for taking the time to listen to me, and I'll talk to you later.
Borderless.